between Columbus and Cleveland is Mid-Ohio, and it's ready for the NTT IndyCar Series annual visit. We're sitting on a grassy hill and watching the stars of IndyCar flash by at crazy speeds is a time-honored tradition. It's racing on a classic American road course on America's birthday weekend. NBC Sports welcomes you to IndyCar Live, presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance. Yeah, it's always great to come back to Mid-Ohio.
One of the breaks right here for turn 4.
Remember this section here on the track, Mid-Ohio has, I was about to say unique, but we saw it on the streets of Detroit, didn't we? So no longer unique. This is where the start is, the initial start. All the restarts happen on the finish line. Inside the Arrow McLaren of Pato O'Ward, let's have a listen to some pre-race pep talk. Here it is.
I don't have a lot for you, man. You know the plan here. Whatever happens today, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to go forward. We'll end this thing on a high note. Have ourselves a day.
I mean, they've got basically one hand to play here. You've got to do something different, Townsend. You've got to go off strategy. Look for this to be one of the few cars at the back that might try to risk that 3-stopper, come in early, try to make something happen, get lucky with the yellow. But either way, they are definitely going to be moving forward.
Well, and you'll be watching for Pato O'Ward on the opening lap or two. They'll wonder how many positions can he get? How aggressive is he going to be? He's had some trouble this year, but up front, these two Americans, Diff, going to take it to green.
Great point, mate, because history is repeating. It's not the first time in IndyCar history that a Herder and a Rahal have been on the front row. It was their dads, Brian and Bobby, 25 years ago on the famed streets of Long Beach. And here are the two sons about to duke it out at Mid-Ohio, sharing the front row. How cool's that?
Colton wasn't even born yet. I think that's hilarious.
But Colton's known Graham his whole life, so how does that play out? How much etiquette takes place down into turn 4?
We're about to find out. The field is nicely packed and stacked. There's special starting spot to give them room to breathe and to go. It's a foreign feeling for Graham Rahal. He hasn't been on the front row in some 4 years. This is the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. Great start, Colton Herder.
Colton Herder, great jump. Graham Rahal able to go in line with him, but on the outside there, Alex Palou trying to make a move. He's around Kyle Kirkwood, who's now coming back on the outside of 5.
Kirkwood to the outside. He'll have the advantage at the next apex. That pink Auto Nation car forcefully holding on to third as Marcus Ericsson and Felix Rosenqvist come together.
The two Swedish drivers collide, and that is not a great opening lap here at Mid-Ohio for the Chip Ganassi racer and the McLaren man. Yellow is out.
Side by side through turn 9 as the yellow flag comes out. I'm not sure if, Felix is beached there. I think we saw Marcus able to carry on, but the number 6 NTT car, oh no, he did not make it. Both cars out on the spot.
Ericsson was also very aggressive on the start going into turn 4. He went upside Will Power and Scott McLaughlin.
It's something from Ericsson saying something about broken. Let's check the replay on the opening lap. Here's what went down, or went up.
So you see Ericsson there on the inside of turn 6. Yeah, he was just wide. I mean, Felix gave him room, it looked like, on the inside, missed the apex a bit. You know what it's like down there, green racetrack. It's so easy to understeer. It's so hard to get the car turned back to the right, get down to that apex as you're going downhill. And you see the contact sends the 8 up and over the 6.
Just simply a Swedish slam going on right here. Another shot of Ericsson. Yeah, he's just wide on turn-in. I just think he must have misjudged where he was relative to Rosenqvist, the gap. I mean, it was a car width, almost 2 car widths could be squeezed through here. On board now with Rosenqvist.
You're going to look to, there's Ericsson. Now watch to the right, keep watching to the right.
So Felix knows he's there. He gives him lots of room. You see, he's on the outside of Scott McLaughlin completely, more than a car width on the inside. So that's just a misjudgment from Ericsson, which I got to say, Townsend, that's a rare thing. You do not see mistakes like that out of Marcus Ericsson very often.
Not at all. And for Rosenqvist, just horrible luck. He's been driving very aggressively, but aggression was 0 part of that accident right there. He was trying to be conservative, frankly, leaving room. As you see some turf there, going for a ride along on the headrest inside the cockpit.
Last year he had bad luck here as well. It was an engine issue that put him out. He's been fast here. He almost won his first NTT IndyCar Series race here several years ago.
And even if Ericsson refires here, he's likely to get a drive-through penalty for avoidable contact, or certainly back of the grid, which is where he already is.
Huge championship implications for Marcus Ericsson. He was second coming into today. He won't stay there.
He certainly won't. He certainly will not.
Kevin Lee, tell us more.
And it's even worse than that. You just saw the AMAR safety crew member take a look at the right front. Marcus said, I think the right front is broken. I don't think we're going to be able to continue, or if we do, it's going to be after significant time to repair the car after we get it back.
I think the steering arm has failed because Ericsson just made a steering input and only the left tire moved.
It almost looked like they were having a conversation / debate. Marcus saying, fire me up, I can do it. The AMR safety team saying, I'm not sure this car is safe enough to get back to the pits. Look at how towed out that is.
Well, I think he's holding left hand down, so the left side steering.
But at some point you got to turn. This is going to have to be very delicate.
He made it work there.
And the field is coming up on him. Colton Hurd is in turn 6 right now. He's going to have to crawl around as Felix Rosenqvist rather gets back to the tail of the line there. And yeah, you can just see Felix. It's so tough. That corner, you get a bunch of understeer often on your own, and just with cold tires, full fuel, a damp racetrack. And
such another great example of the success of the aero screen.
Yep.
The left front of Marcus Ericsson would have been in the lap of Felix Rosenqvist 4 years ago. Watch this.
I mean, the floor would have been right at his head level. I mean, that's, you know, it's funny. It's because it's kind of a slower speed thing. You almost didn't really think about it, but seeing that angle there from Felix's onboard, absolutely the aero screen stopped what could have been a much, much worse situation.
Well done, Marcus Ericsson. He has limped around a good part of half a lap here at Mid-Ohio to make it back to pit road. He's gingerly making that last turn in before he climbs up. It's quite a steep uphill here on pit road at Mid-Ohio, but Marcus has made it back, but today is not going to be his day.
Now they'd have to replace both A-arms on the front, I believe, based on the damage that I've seen.
I can't help but think that Felix Rosenqvist is one of the least lucky drivers.
Yeah.
I mean, the number of races we've seen where he had a good thing going, and luck just does not fall his way.
And they're going to have to take it back to the garage. The repairs will be significant for the driver's second in the championship.
Marcus trying to clear some of that smoke and fumes.
Asking for a fan.
Out of the cockpit.
Did you see the windscreen on Felix Rosenqvist's car is a giant tire mark across it? Look at that.
There you go.
Should be able to take care of that with a tear-off. Hopefully, might require 2. The aero screen has generally 8 to 10 tear-offs like you would normally see on a helmet back in the day. All of those are now on the windscreen. And I just wonder what the visibility is like, especially when Rosenqvist is turning right, like right here.
Look at the little triangular orange tab there you see on the side, just right near his head on either side. That's the quick grab and rip.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some contact with the aero screen before. I'm not sure we've ever seen something quite like that when a tire left a giant mark right in the driver's field of view.
And he's at the back, so no penalty once the pit's open. He could come in and probably consider taking fresh tires too, topping up with fuel and grabbing that tear off.
So he is tucked into the fuel, as are a few other drivers at the back. They're taking the opportunity here to come in and get a little extra fuel. Connor Daly, Benjamin Peterson following him in.
Field being led by longtime IndyCar driver Oriol Servia in the 2023 Honda Civic Type R. And this is a massive weekend. Obviously, it's the title of the event, the Honda Indy 200. But here in the state of Ohio, you've got a handful of manufacturing plants, the auto plants, transmission plants at Marysville, East Liberty, the Anna Engineering plant, Russell's Point, and hundreds of employees, associates, their families are here. You know, the family sacrifice so much in the motorsport world with family members, loved ones being away. So this is a fabulous family weekend and celebration, and so many Honda associates and team members here. So thanks so much. We'll see what kind of a day it is in this two-engine manufacturer series, Honda versus Chevrolet. Let's check in with Dylan Welsh.
Well, Felix Rosenquist was one of those cars that did come in and, as expected, changed tires, pulled a tear off, and the crew was just as amazed as we are at that tire mark on the tear off there as you see it pulled away. You also see a couple of the right side mirror missing, and the left side mirror is kind of knocked askew. They've got two backup mirrors on standby here on the pit box that I think they're going to just evaluate if they need to change or need to update based on what Felix thinks. But Hinch, to your point, Felix told me at the start of this weekend there's always been something hindering our result this year. We just need to piece a weekend together. That's not how they wanted it to start.
All right, we're getting ready to go green out of the last turn. Here we go, and Kyle Kirkwood is sizing up. Look at that pink car. He's sizing up Graham Rahal through turn 1, the resurfaced turn 1, climbing the hill to the keyhole in turn 2. Colton Herter leads the field back to green.
And behind him, you see David Malukas looking down the back of, I believe that's Scott McLaughlin in that Good Rancher Chevy. Malukas has gotten ahead of Will Power as
and
one of the
Alexander Rossi getting wide. Roman Grosjean in that yellow and red DHL car makes the move, but now Rossi has a run, but Joseph Newgarden in the train looking to make it happen.
Check this out. Could go 3 wide. Newgarden says, no way, I don't want any part of that. Rossi says, game on. And Grosjean holds the position.
Rossi and Grosjean on Mid-Ohio. We've seen this one before, Townsend.
Just a tiny little fade from Grosjean to make it harder on Rossi. What a move from Newgarden. No, he can't hold on.
It's just so little grip on the outside there, especially after the rain, but he's using those red sidewalled Firestones, a little softer, a little more grip compared to the primary black sidewall that Rossi's got. Trying to use that grip on the outside of 6, not quite enough.
That grip advantage will likely be mitigated at some point during this stint. We call it the crossover point, where the softer red tire starts to degrade and goes past the grip available from the harder black Firestone. We think that might happen around lap 15 to 20. We'll have to stay tuned and see where exactly it plays out.
A couple of Scots from New Zealand running together there. Scott Dixon in the orange and blue PNC Bank car, and there's the defending race winner, Scott McLaughlin, right behind him in the Good Ranchers Chevy for Team Penske. They're all excited about countryman Shane Van Gisbergen in the Grant Park 220, the NASCAR Cup Series race in Chicago this weekend. And look at this, Graham Rahal isn't just sitting in second, he's pressing for the lead.
Yeah, all these top 3 cars on the same tire compound right now. A little bit of a line variation down into the valley here as they come up and over a blind section. You really can't see the racetrack as you come up over the hill, and this is one of the trickiest corners on the track. Big step off at the exit and up through the gears. Super fast corner here. This left-hander, you'll pick up some aero push running in traffic. And for Graham Rahal, I can tell already he's got the best race car, both in qualifying and race trim, that he's had in a long time.
The Fifth Third Bank Honda looking good in second. Kyle Kirkwood, championship leader Alex Palou, and then Rahal's teammate Christian Lundgaard. Let's talk more Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan with Dylan.
And they started on the alternate red tires, the softer tires, and their plan was be aggressive early. There's weather in the area, so if it does rain, they wanted to be able to take advantage of this increased lap time by using the reds early. So you see Graham pressuring Colton here. That's by design. They want to maximize these softer tires with more grip.
Meanwhile, back in the pack, Pato O'Ward is bulldozing his way through. Remember, he had to start in 25th position, so he has made his way up to 19th, so good, swift work.
Gonna have to defend here a little bit as Callum Ilott, Canapino's teammate, challenging, and Stingray Robb in that white, blue, and green Biohaven car gets past Ilott in the jumble.
I think you're seeing a lot of that discrepancy between the primaries and the alternates right now. A couple of drivers that have done well. I mean, Palou holding on to 4th place, being the #1 driver, the highest starting driver on those primaries. But then David Malukas, he's using to great effect the red sidewall tires to get up to 8th from his starting position of 11th.
And the car will be watching closely over the next 10 laps is the number 10 of Alex Palou. What kind of pace can he realize as the red tires fade, and he should be in an advantaged position. But Palou will have to run the reds at some point.
McLaughlin just let the number 18 of David Malukas by. That was a pretty blatant move. I'm not sure if something came from race control, if there was maybe a block call.
There was a blocking penalty call on McLaughlin.
There you go. So I was just about to say, this is when Malukas really has...
Get it back. 111 here. Fuel is not a problem, right?
Take a look back if at this McLaughlin blocking penalty you cannot move in reaction to. That was close.
That was marginal. I mean, I've seen more blatant ones not called, but
at least the penalty is mild.
Yes.
Just give up the spot, try again.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with that. It definitely looked like a reaction, but that was huge for David Malukas, because with Scott on those slower primaries, he needed to get around and try to make up a little bit of time here.
Colton Herta in the Gainbridge Honda leads for Andretti Autosport. He led a lot at Road America 2 weeks ago. The win didn't come his way. He's off to a great start today. You're watching USA's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by Honda, an official vehicle of the NTT IndyCar Series. Shell Renewable Race Fuel, powering progress at 225 miles per hour. And by NTT, official sponsor and technology partner of the NTT IndyCar Series. This is Mid-Ohio, the Honda Indy 200 here in Mid-Ohio. And racing at the front, Colton Herta over Graham Rahal and Kyle Kirkwood. Biggest mover in the pack has been Pato O'Ward, up 9 positions. And here he is, the arrow on board.
We just watched a really nice move on Marcus Armstrong coming out of turn 1 down into the keyhole. Was able to follow very closely through 1. Not an easy thing to do. And he's just picking them off right now. Next up in his sights is Ryan Hunter-Reay driving the number 20 BitNile.com Chevy, that gold and blue car. Here we are on board with him.
Hunter-Reay also on reds, along with his teammate Rinus VeeKay.
Whoa, look at this, Graham Rahal throwing everything at Colton Herta for the lead of this race.
Where did that come from? I've been watching Colton Herta's pace. He's been losing 1 to 2 tenths of a second
Think about mix 1 here and use mix 3 if we can get him.
per lap.
So there you go, you heard mix 1 here, mix 3 if we can get him. That tells you mix 3 is a full rich, full power mode on the steering wheel of Graham Rahal's Honda. And he is, I mean, that was good. He was the fastest car on track last time by. You love to see it, Townsend. You love to see him getting after it, trying to make that move happen.
Absolutely. There you see push to pass seconds remaining. Total of 200 available as Felix Rosenqvist trying to charge his way back forward, looking to make a move on Benjamin Peterson. Alex Palou hasn't touched the push to pass button yet, Diff.
Right at this corner here, as Rosenqvist squeezes it through, that's where he was a victim of a collision with Marcus Ericsson, who is out of this race. He's with Kevin Lee.
And first time outside of the top 10 this season for the runner-up in the Indy 500. What happened, Marcus?
Yeah, I haven't seen the replays yet, but I felt like did a good start, and then into 6 there, I just couldn't get the car stopped, and obviously ran into Felix. So yeah, I feel really bad for just understeering to Felix, and then get caught on his tires. So I feel really bad for ruining Felix's day. That was definitely not my intention, and obviously feel bad for the 8th crew. So yeah, very disappointing.
Work continues on pit lane, but it looks like they might be done for the day.
That would be the first DNF, the non-finish for Ericsson since Nashville last year. That is a very uncharacteristic thing for Marcus Ericsson.
Yeah, I feel like we were just talking about this earlier in the weekend, that he's been very consistent. We don't see a lot of mistakes, unforced errors out of Marcus Ericsson. We kind of could point back to Long Beach last year as the only one that really jumped to mind for me.
Just was thinking about the attempt Rahal made there on Colton Herta. I wonder if that sort of surprised Colton a bit. Like, Colton's just sort of managing tire, managing pace, trying to settle in. And Graham with a bit more experience, and been a while since he's had a taste of the lead in an IndyCar race, and I think he just decided, I'm going to jump this kid and see if I can surprise him here.
Not only a little while since leading an IndyCar race, do you know the last time that he was on the podium? Podium in a road course was some 3 years ago at the Indy GP. Last time on the podium, period, was 2 years ago at Texas Motor Speedway. So that's a long time in IndyCar racing when you have 17 events a year. You're somebody as accomplished and a veteran like Graham Rahal. This drought's been a long one, Hinch.
It really has, but he's being very crafty. And kind of to your point, Townsend, sometimes you can, if you're Colton Herta leading, you come out of turn 1, you take a quick look in your mirror and think, he's not that close. But I'll tell you, if he's not that close, but he thinks he can catch Colton sleeping by getting on his push to pass, and Colton doesn't react in time, that closing rate can happen real fast. And so maybe you're right, he was a little bit further back than a traditional attempt would come from.
Well, let's
and you
take
can
a look.
catch a driver sleeping.
We're going to go back on board with Graham Rahal a few laps ago when the attempt came on the way to the keyhole. Had a really good exit in turn 1 and just had a look.
But it's definitely enough to get Colton Herta's attention.
Yeah, just letting him know he's there. And if you just think back to the Indy 500 and the utter devastation, the frustration from Graham Rahal to not qualify for the race, and then have the issue with Stephen Wilson to get back in the race, but not competitively. Imagine what he's feeling right now. It's just the other end of the spectrum. It's big eyes, it's hunger, his home track. He grew up at this place. He knows this track better than any other racetrack in the world. So many of the fans have turned out to cheer on Graham Rahal, and he must be feeling really excited about his chances today. It could very well come down to a battle in pit lane.
Saw Dad, his famous father Bobby, earlier today, had a big smile on his face. There's been a huge shift in momentum and outlook and motivation at Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. Let's talk about the race leader, though, with Kevin Lee. Kevin, tell us more about Colton Herta.
Well, we saw that moment where Rahal almost got close enough to overtake him. Let's listen into some conversation on the 26 radio a moment ago.
Starting to feel a little bit of drop off of the tires. Copy, 13 complete, +1 to the rear. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep safe for time.
This team is so anxious to convert. They've been fast all season. Rob Edwards, the strategist CEO you just heard, just said, we need to be consistent. We need to execute today to bring one home.
You know, I spoke to Colton as we see some action further back. That side-by-side, Joseph Newgarden on the inside, Pato O'Ward trying to continue his charge up the field, trying to make it work on the outside of the keyhole. That's a tough one to pull off.
Oh, here we go.
Series champion, and side-by-side for third, Kyle Kirkwood in.
Look at that. Alex Palou, championship leader, and Kyle Kirkwood defends from the championship points leader.
We are at the crossover point on the tires. Alex Palou on the harder black compound, Kyle Kirkwood on the softer tire. Kirkwood has had the advantage, but no longer. Remember, he's teammates to Colton Herta, so if Colton is feeling the fall off on his reds, so is Kyle Kirkwood most likely, and Alex Palou knows this is the time to press.
That bright green car in the background as Christian Lundgaard runs in a really nice fifth ahead of Scott Dixon. There's been a change within the top three. Very hard fight between this man here, Kyle Kirkwood, in the Auto Nation Honda for Andretti Autosport, and the points leader, Alex Palou. Down the back straight into turn 4. Let's show you again. Palou on the right in the blue and white American Legion machine. Watch Kirkwood on the inside.
Tough to tell from this angle how much room Alex Palou gave Kyle Kirkwood. It didn't look like a lot when we saw it live just a few minutes ago. Kyle Kirkwood's been hanging on to the back of his race car. Here's on board with Kirkwood. Just enough. Left him just enough room, but Kyle had to run the apex curve higher and harder than he normally would, and I think that contributed to turning around the Auto Nation car.
Yeah, that one's right on the limit. I mean, Palou had a half a car length on him. He had the line for 5. You would have thought as a championship leader, maybe you leave him a bit more room, but ultimately there was just a car width there.
One thing we didn't hear on the radio was Kirkwood complaining.
That's so true.
He stayed focused. He's given feedback to his team. Head down. Just focus on getting to the end of this thing and regathering yourself.
That was Rinus VeeKay who dove for pit lane. By the way, Alex Palou has set about the 2 up front because he has just run a considerably quicker lap, almost a full second faster than Graham Rahal. So Palou is out after these 2 guys. There you see him in the background. Here he comes.
And this is all that we talked about, the crossover point. Those primaries really coming alive as those alternates are starting to struggle. I spoke to Colton Herta yesterday. He said, look, we've not been good on the reds. That's part of the reason we went to the primaries in the Firestone Fast 6 to go for pole. So they just need to survive this first stint. And the driver of the 26 is very confident once they get primaries on, they can be back in control as Grosjean sliding coming off a 5.
Red, black, and white car is Jack Harvey, the Permco Honda for Rahal Letterman Lanigan. Now pressuring Jack Harvey, pressuring Kyle Kirkwood while defending from Romain Grosjean. Let's go for a ride on the Auto Nation on board.
There goes Kirkwood. Bailing out, diving for pit lane, so he's in the window to make it on one more stop after this one. Almost certainly he'll be putting the harder black tire on.
Coming your way, Kevin Lee.
And after the spin, that's what Brian Herta asked. Can you stay out 2 more? Because that's it. Everybody wanted to get to at least 20, 22 to be safe. Pato O'Ward came in 3 laps to go. He's going to have to super save. He may just be hoping for a caution. Otherwise, it's going to be a 3-stopper for Award.
And it could happen. I mean, it's very possible, and this is kind of the phase of the race where you're likely to see it as we see Award scream around the outside there of Kyle Kirkwood.
That's pretty impressive when you consider that Kirkwood had the spin but rejoined in 9th at Award. They both have done pit stops, and so on a straight-up green flag battle, Pato Award has gotten ahead of Kyle Kirkwood.
It has been an amazing opening stanza for Pato Award in the Arrow McLaren Chevy. Colton Herta led 33 laps 2 weeks ago at Road America. He's already led 22 as of now. What a perfect start to the race. He's had a little bit of pressure on occasion from Graham Rahal. Now Rahal's going to feel pressure from Alex Palou of Chip Ganassi Racing.
And I'm surprised, James, that I haven't seen more pace out of Palou at this crossover phase on the tire, because Colton Herta, is almost like the Reds have stabilized a bit. So I bet there's going to be a debate. Is this a black race to the finish or a red race?
I mean, he was 0.8 quicker on that lap, but we see Joseph Newgarden in the pits, Kev.
Joseph Newgarden, who has won this race before, he's coming in to make his first stop. This is in the window to get it done. And one more, you see the big turn of front wing there, and Shell Fuel, Firestones, and Newgarden back out. Also behind him is Ryan Hunter-Reay exiting pit lane.
One of the big things you want when you come out of pit lane is a couple laps of clean air. If you can get that clean running, it makes a huge difference during this whole pit sequence. Hunter-Reay there coming out behind a couple cars. They're going to pull away in these first few corners as he gets some temperature in those Firestones and hopefully some clear laps, lay down some quick ones as we get into this pit cycle.
One of those cars was his teammate in the other Bitnall Chevy. That's Renus VK. So Herta, Rahal, Palou, Lundgaard, Dixon, that hasn't changed. Here is Connor Daly running in the second Meyer Shank Honda, the Sirius XM Auto Nation machine, filling in for Simon Pagenaud. It's the first time ever in Simon Pagenaud's career he's been forced to miss an IndyCar race. He's done more than 200 IndyCar races in his career. Today, he was denied that by not being passed by IndyCar Medical after yesterday's big crash. Dylan Welsh.
Romain Grosjean at the top of your screen, and they took the red tires off. Grosjean did a nice job to pick up a few spots on those softer tires, made a front wing change, and Firestone primaries on Kevin.
And Alexander Rossi gets out right in front of him with a better pit location, and Rossi is back out pitting from 11th.
Joseph Newgarden now trying to get around the slow starting. Oh, Romain Grosjean, his teammate Kyle Kirkwood trying to go through as well. It's so hard, Townsend, as a driver coming out of the pits on cold tires. You're trying to defend, but you can only do so much.
And Grosjean got a tough lesson on that last year, wheel banging with Alexander Rossi and forced off the track. Meanwhile, Newgarden charging into turn 4.
Check this out. Deep, they're close. Alexander Rossi and Joseph Newgarden, and Rossi left nothing there for Newgarden. And here comes Kirkwood putting the pressure on the PPG Chevy.
Watch Kirkwood try to cross it up here and go inside Newgarden up and over the hill. I don't think he's going to have enough to get the advantage. He's going to have to back out. You really can't go too wide right here.
Wider curbs, driver's left. Check it out here. Yellow and red lines there. Coming out over turn 9 through Thunder Valley. That is Jack Harvey being serviced and set. Been a promising start to this race for Harvey.
And every lap that those leaders can stay out, I'm looking at 1 through 6, 1 through 7, 1 through 9 really, 10 even. If they can stay out, the longer they can do that, the more they're helping themselves later in this race.
And I'm struggling to figure out, do you want a red tire for the next 2? Well, you can if you started on reds, but what's the preferred tire to finish this race? I mean, Colton Herta, again, the pace has stabilized a bit, and Alex Palou is just not aggressing on Graham Rahal like I expected on the black tire advantage.
I think you have to go to whatever tire you didn't start on now just to get a sense of which one's which and then know what you want to run in that final stint. So if you started primary, you're going alternates, vice versa. But it's just a really good job by these top 2 right now to make these reds last. Like you say, Palou caught up, but not really able to attack and get stuck into that fight.
One thing's for sure, for Graham Rahal, he has a race car today that's as good as Andretti and Ganassi behind him.
No, I could maybe do one more. Pit option.
Pit option, does that mean driver option to come in? If I'm hearing the anxiety from Colton's voice like that and I'm Rob Edwards, I'd say pit now, we're in the window, we're fine.
Safely in the window to do it from here on one more stop with minimal fuel savings. So if you're struggling, I mean, Graham's not at attacking distance quite yet. I mean, he's right there.
I think they should bring Colton in right now, put the black tires on.
Your call.
One more if you can. Your call. How much anxiety is there within the Andretti Autosport camp based on Road America 2 weeks ago?
Keep in mind, this is Colton Herta's third strategist of the season. So for Rob Edwards, he's trying to get a read on switching over to this team as a strategist. How much is your driver struggling right now? He put it in Colton's hands. Colton made the call. I'll stay out for one more lap.
I love the trust here, guys. That's so great. Colton said, hey, I think we need to come in soon. Rob said, one more if we can, your call. He came out at turn 9, looked at his mirror, said, okay, we've got a half second, 6/10 to Graham.
Let's do another one.
We can do one more if that's going to help me later in the race.
Lights it up off turn 2. And David Malukas, after a really promising start, is in.
Malukas is in. They took the red tires off. Primary tires going on for Malukas. And again, expect the leaders in here in a couple laps. Rahal is ready to get the red tires off.
What a relief for David Malukas. This is the race he's been waiting for pretty much all season long.
I was waiting till 9 to tell you.
All right, pitting this time is the race leader, the Gainbridge Honda of Colton Herta.
And remember, guys, Alex Palou still has to run a stint on those reds. So if they are a struggle, he may have closed that gap, but it might open back up once these two leaders get on the primaries.
But Alex Palou is doing the distance so he can shorten his red stint.
And now he's going to want to go, go, go. Graham Rahal stays out. This is where the overcut, undercut comes into play, guys.
This is not good for Palou. Palou would have loved if Graham Rahal followed Colton Herta, but Graham stays out. Palou's stuck in dirty air. He might be faster, but tough to get by at Mid-Ohio.
Whose call is going to be better, Andretti Autosports or Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan?
And they made a change on who makes those calls. Rob Edwards, as you mentioned, the third different strategist. He told me, we just want to experiment. We want to try things. We have 4 poles as a team and only 1 win. Now it's 5 poles, and Colton Herta trying to convert that today.
I think we're hearing box call for Graham Rahal there. We'll see if he comes in. But for Alex Palou, he's not able to get the pace of clean air with Graham Rahal up front.
So Graham Rahal staying out an extra lap. He's going to be all over that push to pass button, trying to make this in lap as fast as possible, trying to close that half-second gap he had to Colton Herta. Likewise, Colton now has to be on the button, getting up to speed as quickly as possible. The overcut staying out a lap longer, trying to utilize those hot tires. The undercut trying to get into the pits, get those fresh tires on. And we're going to see in about 30 seconds here which one's the right call as Palou stays out. Now he needs to put the hammer down, try to get those clean laps on the primaries.
Dylan, the Team RLL guys haven't been put under this much pressure in a while. Here we go.
That's right, big stop here. Rahal's been much happier this weekend on the reds than the blacks, so really wanted to take advantage of that outlap to try and build as much gap as possible. Reds are off, sticker primary Firestone's on for Rahal, waiting on the fuel. We'll see where he blends.
How refreshing this must be for Graham Rahal, racing at the front of an IndyCar field. Where does he come out in comparison to Colton Herta?
Right now, you'll be racing him to the keyhole.
The words from Rob Edwards, you're going to be racing him to the keyhole. That race is on.
Graham's not going to be able to defend Colton Herta on hot tires as he goes sailing by.
Under brakes, does Rahal switch back? He can't.
Look at
cold tires.
Look at how far up the road Pato O'Ward has gotten there. That is amazing. O'Ward right there with Rahal.
Think about it. They've all made one stop now and essentially passing for second here.
Wonder if O'Ward's saving any fuel. Right now he's saving nothing. He wants second place.
Rahal's like, where did you come from? 25th, says Pato O'Ward.
But if I'm on the radio to Graham Rahal, I'm saying, look, without a yellow, Pato's not in this race. You're not racing him. You're racing Colton Herta in front. Just let him go, get up to speed, put in the laps. The gap ends up about the same as the leader is in. Alex Palou down to Kevin.
And he's going to go to the red sidewall, the alternates. He's got to go around Christian Lundgaard's tires. He's coming in from second this lap. The driver is dominant as we've seen in a while. Last 4 races, nobody's been better. 3 wins. Alex Palou is back out. Let's see how much time he made up in that in-lap.
Boy, that fueler didn't have to fill as much as I thought. Palou is out and to the front easily.
That was a 2-second faster stop than what Graham Rahal had on the 15. Here comes Colton Herta at pace. He's got to get around Christian Lundgaard, who's also jumped the 26.
So that tells me that the reason Palou wasn't pressing that hard is he was saving fuel following Graham Rahal earlier to shorten the pit stop.
A little bit wide from Christian Lundgaard. Now a drag race down to turn 4. Colton Herta easily ahead. Pato O'Ward's going to be on the button, trying to get around the RLL driver as well.
So Lundgaard has been able to leapfrog his teammate. Here comes Pato O'Ward diving to the inside.
Decisive swerve from the young Mexican driver, and it's clear he is on a full press. If there's not a caution, they'll have to make 2 more stops to get to the end.
But you got to give him credit for the moves he's pulling off on track. We saw pace on him as we see Scott Dixon, Dylan, down in pit lane.
That's right, Scott Dixon in. He was the leader. They're going to go off of the alternate tires and put the reds on. Scott asked for a turn of front wing. They'll need a big out-lap here from Dixon.
There goes Will Power in the Verizon Chevy. Look at this mad scramble here. How does Dixon cycle out? Where does he cycle out in comparison to his teammate Alex Palou? Here we go.
Check out another guy that's been saving fuel. Scott Dixon is going to exit pit lane just ahead of Colton Herta. I don't know if he'll be able to hold him off, but Dixon and Power have position right now.
This is Power to Chip Ganassi Racing. How about that for a pit stop cycle?
So Power's going to give Colton Herta a little bit of a hard time in keyhole, but I don't think Dixon has tire temperature yet.
Back straight drag race. If he goes to the inside, Herta will swoop around the outside, and that's what's happening.
This is tough. You can pull it off on the outside here. It is banked. She's got a nice car length advantage. Easily done. Colton Herta had to make those moves happen.
What a handy bit of strategy from Chip Ganassi Racing and Team Penske to save the gas on the opening stint for this potential overcut opportunity and shorten.
You're watching USA's coverage of IndyCar, brought to you by the new movie Gran Turismo, exclusively in movie theaters August 11th. Hy-Vee, this racing season, help Hy-Vee reach their goal of 100 million meals by visiting hyvee.com. And by Liberty Mutual Insurance, only pay for what you need. Great to have you with us on this 4th of July holiday weekend. Lee Diffie along with Townsend Bell and James Hinchcliffe, Dylan Walsh and Kevin Lee. This is the Honda Indy 200 here at Mid-Ohio. Clear Fork Reservoir in the background there. This beautiful plot of land that has facilitated so many great races over the years. This is IndyCar race number 40, believe it or not, here at Mid-Ohio. And it's being led by the championship points leader, Alex Palou. He's won 3 of the last 4 races and well and truly in control. 5.5 seconds in the lead, and has a whopping points lead. Can anybody stop Palou this year?
Well, most importantly, I think the play of running long there on the blacks on the first stint. He only needs to do about another 16, 17 laps on the reds here. He can make his final stop, go back to the harder black tire, and cruise along. That assumes no weather, that assumes no yellow, and assumptions are dangerous if you watch Bad News Bears.
They certainly are, but I mean, that's about the crossover point where we saw the Reds start to fall apart, so they've definitely put themselves in a very good position. Another guy running a good position right now, Graham Rahal, and our Dylan has a little bit more on the 15.
Yeah, so of course they pitted when they were running up front around Colton Herta and Alex Palou. They ride 7th right now on their pit stop. It sounds like there was maybe a little bit of an issue on the fuel plug-in, so we'll watch a replay of that here. Graham hits his marks, and you can see he had to re-engage a couple times, so that cost him a couple seconds as they had to wait on the fuel at the end, and as a result, Graham's falling down to 7th.
Time that is so difficult to make up on the racetrack can be lost so quickly in pit lane. But look, this has been a positive day for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. This is awesome to see 2 of the 3 cars running at the front, Christian Lundgaard and Graham Rahal. Currently 6th and 7th on track. Jack Harvey running in 13th. They'll take that. This has been a really positive turn at such a special place to the Rahal family name. How about this man? Big mover in the pack. Pato Award on a very different strategy, Kevin Lee. Had to start 25th after spinning and losing it in qualifying, but he's made his way through very effectively.
And he's done it by passing cars, then coming in and getting clean track and running fast laps. Let's listen to the game plan on the radio.
Great job, dude. Just keep making hay. If you can pass, make a pass. Otherwise, let's conserve overtake.
That's Will Anderson, his engineer, who works on strategy as well. We wondered, could they do it? Somehow save enough fuel? No, they're going to have to come in about 9 laps. But he's still saving a little bit because I don't think he can move any far forward. Just in case a caution comes out and it's a short caution, maybe they can get it done on 1 more. If not, no chance. They have to make an extra stop.
And you had to do it. You had to roll the dice like that.
But you know what? If you can get to 48, and you got track position, you can save mad fuel around here. Scott Dixon's shown it for so many years. Yeah. That would be 32 laps for the finish to award one yellow, and he's golden.
Now just keep doing what you're doing with those lap times. Hopefully we cycle ahead of him here.
Again, O'Ward has come from 25th to 4th, but is on a different strategy than the others. He last pitted on lap 17. Those around him were in the high 20s, and even lap 30 for Scott Dixon and Will Power. There was a close call for his teammate. Watch this.
Oh, whoa. Felix Rosenquist with a huge front axle lockup. Full tires straight out of pit lane.
There's Jack Harvey up ahead.
Full fuel, cold tires. Now he's got zero downforce on the car. As soon as Jack Harvey faded back, driver's left in front of Felix, it just took all the air, all the downforce off that front wing, making it so much more likely to lock those tires. It was a good move from Felix to get that thing slowed down.
Yeah, probably worthy of a conversation with Jack Harvey and just saying, hey, you're putting yourself at a huge risk to cut across my bow and
you were going by
the jet wash proverbially.
Check out some Firestone telemetry as Harvey comes through this new portion of asphalt, 130 miles an hour plus through turn 1, climbing the hill. Have a look at some figures. Even watch it down the backstretch here. This off camber, crazy challenging turn 2. Opens up the throttle. Here we go. Look at those numbers.
Uphill going into the keyhole, downhill mid-corner coming out. A little bit of the kink here in the back straight, 170 miles an hour, still climbing, 180 miles an hour. Just over before he throws the anchors out for turn 4. And this is such a fun bit of racetrack, guys. This roller coaster section, combined corners, right, left, all the way through to turn 9. Very challenging.
Always love this section. Up out of Thunder Valley as you dive down into the brake zone for turn 9. And this is like motocross style, a little step off at the exit in an Indy car, about 120 miles an hour as the back wants to kick out. And you're struggling with your eyes trying to figure out exactly where the racetrack is when you land.
Speaking of that, Pro Motocross, part of the inaugural season of Super Motocross World Championship. You know, it's Jet Lawrence continuing his dominant run in the 450 class, undefeated this year.
How about Danger Boy?
Yeah, winning for the first time in the 250s as well. Hayden Deegan winning the outdoor overall in 250. Let's take a look at some pit stop differential numbers powered by NTT.
Great little bit of information here from NTT. You see Alex Palou there, that pit in lap when he got that clean air. Once Colton Herta and Graham Rahal came in, he used those primaries to good effect, 1.4 seconds faster, but we saw him have to drive around Christian Lundgaard's setup pit and pit lane. That cost him some time getting in the box.
Look at the difference, though, on the outlap. What's that down to? Probably tire compound. Palou on the softer red tire. It comes in so much quicker as Colton struggled on the harder black tire with overcast conditions, track just 90 degrees track temperature.
Yeah, if you're going to do the overcut, it's great going from the primary to the alternate. It's much harder to do it the other way around, and ultimately big advantage to the number 10 team.
So the difference between first Alex Palou and second Colton Herta is 8.3 seconds. But the Andretti Autosport team have some words for Colton. Have a listen.
I mean, it doesn't matter if we go a lap longer than him at this point if he's just going to fly away.
Copy that, except we think the Reds will tail off like yours did. He'll come back to you.
At the halfway point of this race, 40 down, 40 to go. And Rob Edwards, the COO of Andretti Autosport, just saying, hey, he's on those softer compound Firestone Reds. They'll drop off. He will come back to you. It won't always be 8.2 seconds.
That assumes that Alex Palou is showing us everything he's got, and I promise you, he's not. He is managing those red tires on this stint. He knows he has a nice gap.
Because why? What do you call him? The professor of
precision. He is a surgeon out there as he surgically examines Benjamin Peterson, waiting for his chance to make a move.
Here at Mid-Ohio, on your home of motorsports, NBC Sports, and this is race leader Alex Palou in the American Legion car. Now his lead has come down some 2 seconds from 8.4 to 6.4. Now the traffic of Benjamin Peterson could have a little bit to do with that. Scott Dixon runs in third behind Colton Herta, and Pato O'Ward and Will Power in the top 5.
And this is a double win for Colton Herta, seeing Alex Palou struggle in dirty air, because in that dirty air, not only is he going slower, he's having to work those Firestone tires harder. As Palou, we knew this was, as Pato, we knew this was coming down into pit lane.
Yeah, that full push strategy Has him coming in with 36 laps to go, Kevin, and barring massive yellow, he'll still have to make one more stop.
Yeah, he's going to have to make up 5 or 6 laps short of everyone else. He has the option of going to the alternates. This tells us what someone thinks is the proper tire. This is also going to be a potentially long stint, so he's going to the primary Firestones along with Shell Fuel.
All right, so keep on digging. Pato Award in the Arrow McLaren Chevy. Comes out behind Joseph Newgarden.
That's still pretty solid because now all those cars still have to make one more stop. So given where Award started at the back, he's legitimately up to 14th behind Newgarden. He can run a short stint here, go to Reds, and try to make some more magic happen. Award's still on pace potentially for a top 10.
And guess what? At points as they run, he's still in the top 5 in championship points. We're only at the halfway mark of this championship. So keep digging. It's tough. Hey, speaking of tough, Pallot's lead has come down 3 seconds now, Kevin Lee.
So Townsend just asked me a moment ago, is Pallot complaining at all about Benjamin Peterson in front of him? Right after that, Townsend, yes, I think he was. Let's listen.
Use your head when you get to Peterson. Everything looks good. Just past halfway.
This is a joke. He's blocking me.
All right, I'll send it in.
And I later heard him say he tried to push me off.
Well, Peterson's legitimately on the lead lap. If a yellow were to come out, Peterson would go right back. You know, all that gap to the leader would essentially eliminate as Peterson would go to the tail end of the lead lap for a restart.
It's just killing the lap time of the number 10. Let's take a look here. Last 3 laps, 1:10.4 to a 1:09.5. 10.2 to a 9.5, 10.6 to a 9.7. Let's just see how much time is bleeding away, as well as punishing those alternate tires. So this is really starting to flow back towards Colton Herta in the 26 Gamebridge car.
So hard to keep your head in this moment because Pallot knows he needs another 3 to 4 laps before he's comfortably into the window to make his last stop. Looking at push to pass, Pallot's down to 103 seconds remaining, so he has used about 30 seconds while following Benjamin Peterson, as it looks like the Husky Chocolates crew, the Ice Spritz crew, is going to bring the car of Marcus Ericsson back to pit lane and send him back out.
It won't be a DNF. We told you that earlier, so good work by the Chip Ganassi squad. Meanwhile, his teammate Alex Palou has seen his lead go from 8.4 seconds to 4.8. And that is infuriating the Spaniard because he knows that Colton Herta is getting closer and closer with every lap that goes by. Wait for it, cresting the hill. Here's the Gamebridge Honda. Herta led 26 laps earlier to open up this race. Pallot's led 16.
Wonder what tire all of these drivers in the top 5 will elect to use for the finish. They've all satisfied, I believe, their tire requirement.
There's one driver that has not. Alexander Rossi has gone black. He has not yet used his sticker alternates, the red sidewall tires. Oh, and I take that back. He's on them now.
Oh, that's interesting.
That must have been
our data shows them on blacks, Kevin. So that's a data error. What can you tell us about Rossi?
So Rossi is strongly thinking about using the alternates, and I think he has the choice because Brian Barnhart keeps talking about what do you want to do, and then reminding him, all right, if you want to do the Reds, you got to go 29 laps. That's going to be somewhat difficult. I think he's the only one up front that has that option.
Yeah, apologies on that misspeak. Our data was reading incorrectly, as you see there on the pylon. Now back to Reds for Rossi.
Currently running in 8th position behind Scott McLaughlin, ahead of David Malukas. That lead has come down another half second. 4.3 now, Alex Palou over Colton Herta. As we're into the second half of the Honda Indy 200. Racing into the second half of the Honda Indy 200 here at Mid-Ohio, and you're looking at that yellow and black machine. That's the Gamebridge Honda of Colton Herta. Second place, he's 4.3 seconds behind Alex Palou, and then behind him is Scott Dixon in the PNC Bank Honda. I want to talk about Chip Ganassi Racing because we showed you Marcus Ericsson and the crew getting the Husky Ice Spritz machine ready to come back out on track. Race control has just thrown a bit of salt in those wounds and said when you do get out there, you've got to stop and hold 45-second penalty for avoidable contact on lap 1 with his countryman. Felix Rosenquist.
Meanwhile, during the break, Alex Palou getting by Benjamin Peterson, but it didn't come easy. Peterson making it really hard for race leader Palou to find an opportunity. Swerving down the track was Peterson. Palou finally had enough, and that last lap, Alex Palou, a 1:10.1, almost 2 seconds faster than Benjamin Peterson. That's what he was losing. And look at, I'm shocked at how aggressively Peterson decided to kind of plant his flag here at Mid-Ohio in this moment on championship leader Alex Palou.
Yeah, it was a huge defense into turn 4, side by side through 5 and 6. Really not making any friends here. It's well within his rights to fight, but at some point, you know, you're running 24. If you got the leader behind you for 10 laps, you got to be smart about it and make sure you preserve some of your credit within the paddock there.
So with 50 down and 30 laps to go, fellas, let's have a look at the NTT pit stop prediction, powered by NTT.
So there you go. You see with Palou able to run about 2 laps longer than Herta. His window shows appropriately so. Dixon going that 1 lap further still, the master of saving fuel. So it gives everybody about that 2-lap window coming up based on their last stop. Some great information there from NTT.
Looking out the back of the Permco onboard at Newgarden and Pato O'Ward, his O'Ward's teammate Alexander Rossi pits with 29 to go for the last time. Kev?
And they were debating whether he wanted the alternate, softer Firestones, which he's on right now, and they changed their mind. They're going back to primaries because this is a longer final stint for Alexander Rossi.
A little bit of a struggle there on the left front. Is Jack Harvey also down and away?
I think it just got sorted before the fuel was finished, so hopefully not a massive time loss there for Rossi. But yeah, I think given the length of this stint, the primaries make the most sense.
Somebody who's done a nice job today is Devlin DiFrancesco. Made up a lot of positions. He pitted on lap 28, but he's in the same zip code as Marcus Armstrong and several ahead of him like Graham Rahal and Scott McLaughlin. Here he is in the EVTEC Honda. So good going by the Canadian.
Yeah, running ahead of Joseph Newgarden right now in the top 10. Great run right now for him. 14 places up from where he started all the way back in 24th was where he found himself yesterday. But look at how much Dixon has closed the gap, Townsend, to Colton Herta.
Impressively on the softer red tire too, as Herta should have the advantage at this point in the stint. Now all the cars at the front are in the window to pit for the final time. You got to start to think about danger zone in these moments as Newgarden coming in.
And I'm Colton Herta. I'm looking at Benjamin Peterson. I'm knowing how tough it was for Palou to get around him. Maybe it's better to duck in now and get out of the way into some clean air. Kevin.
It's a little bit of surprise that it hasn't gone better this weekend for Joseph Newgarden, but he could not advance in qualifying. He makes his last stop just a little bit beyond mid-pack, and he's back out for his final stint. Kyle Kirkwood also, who was a factor early, but had that off, also stopping for the last time.
So we start to get our tire answer as those last 3 cars, Kirkwood and Rossi and Newgarden, all taking the black harder Firestone to make it to the end.
Will Power is quietly hovering there in 4th place in the Verizon Chevy. He's done a nice job. It was on that first stop sequence as well. So he's flying the flag for Team Penske, highest placed Team Penske car. Look at Palou trying to clear Kyle Kirkwood here.
Kyle Kirkwood trying to help out his teammate Colton Herta by holding up race leader Alex Palou. And I think if I'm Barry Wanzer watching my driver Palou right now approaching more slow cars, you got to think you're coming to the box. Stay out of this trouble. Got a nice lead. Let's get the final stop and make sure we are not caught out by traffic or an untimely yellow.
The other problem is with about 26 seconds lost on pit lane, that would bring him right out behind probably Devlin DiFrancesco in a train of cars. So that's another thing you got to take into consideration.
Yeah, but not for long because DiFrancesco will have to pit very soon as well. There it is.
That was Alex Palou saying pit. And there's Barry Wanzer, and here he comes. Race leader is in for what should be the last stop of this race, the Honda Indy 200. Kevin Lee, the championship leaders coming your way.
And there was almost an obstacle. Marcus Ericsson and his crew was getting set to push that car back to the garage. They just went back to see if the car was repaired properly. Barry Wanzer was waving the team, get back out of the way. They did. Clean, easy stop for a driver trying to make it 4 wins in the last 5. When's the last time we saw a run like this? Below with a chance to finish it off. He's out. Scott Dixon also making his final stop.
Mr. Mid-Ohio, who has to come all the way from the other end of pit lane. He's in the very first pit box on pit lane entry. Mr. Mid-Ohio has a shot of standing on the podium here today.
There's what you talked about, James Palou coming out behind DiFrancesco, but luckily DiFrancesco has been fast. His tires are hot. Palou still needs to get temperature, as does teammate Scott Dixon. But did you see the body language, guys, on the crew for the number 10?
Oh, yeah.
It's like a holiday out there going for 3 in a row. Absolutely no urgency, totally under control. Meanwhile, Roman Grosjean in the number 28 DHL car. Nice clean stop for the last one of the day.
Is the 06 Avelio Castro Neves, multi-time winner here in IndyCar competition at Mid-Ohio. Grosjean in the DHL Honda. He's sent for the final time. Jack Harvey just whips on by, so too does Rinus VeeKay. Here is Colton Herta.
Oh!
Now what we're going to watch here is where does Herta come out in relation to Scott Dixon? Because last time the two of them were on track, they were right together.
Herta almost lost it, Kevin, on pit entry. Maybe a little bit of a wet spot there.
So that gap that, because of traffic, got back down to 3.5 seconds was back up to 8 before Palou pitted. So it would take a massive in lap and a difficult in lap for Palou to make up this time. Primary Firestone, Shell Fuel, Colton Herta, who started on pole, trying to get his first win. Did he make up any time?
Here comes Scott Dixon. He'll be battling with Dixon as he comes up to the hill to the keyhole along with Christian Lundgaard.
Dixon at speed, the others building their speed. Dixon gets Lundgaard off his list straight away. But Herta has an advantage, so this might be a back straight duel down into turn 4. This is going to be epic.
Not for long. Those cold Firestones are tough to handle on the outlap. Dixon with the advantage. Both drivers will be on push to pass.
Herta's going to fight hard here, Hinch.
He's only got a 1-lap advantage heat-wise.
Penalty there. You got to drive through this time.
Oh, Colton Herta. We saw
Yeah, the pit lane speed bus didn't work.
It's
Didn't
gone
catch it.
again. The chance of victory has gone again for Colton Herta. 2 races in succession. He started on the pole 2 races in a row. And the winner's going to elude him again.
I just wonder in that big sideways moment entering pit lane if Colton was struggling to get his thumb as he was controlling his race car to hit the button as Will Power, Dylan, on pit lane.
They're off the reds onto the sticker primaries for the final time. Ron Rzucki, the strategist, said, push hard here on push to pass. We need a big in lap and a big out lap too.
Here comes Herta to serve his penalty. And it was right here that caused the penalty.
It sort of makes sense because we saw him have that big cross-up moment. That was after where the pit lane pylons are. Let's take a look at it, Townsend.
That's Benjamin Peterson up front. So this is Colton's first pit lane entrance. Oh, he got his thumb there. Oh, he turned it. That's
No,
weird.
you see, he got his
hit
thumb there, but the lights didn't come on. Maybe he didn't push it enough. Maybe it didn't activate for some reason, but now he comes out right ahead.
It seems like he had a definitive button push to activate pit speed control.
13th place, he comes out in Hinch. 14th, actually 13th now. Let's talk more about it with Kevin Lee.
Well, this is at least a 3rd year in a row that they've had a fast car and are not going to get a result. 2 years ago, he started second, was second until the first stop when they had a 25-second stop with a fuel probe issue and then had more issues later on in the race. And then last year, there was more difficulty as well when he missed the code to be able to pit. So another issue for the 2016, Dylan.
Graham Rahal in. They went to, oh, he stalled. It went to slightly scuffed blacks, but it's not going to matter because Rahal stalls leaving. Actually was waiting on the left rear. You see it there. That's going to cost Rahal some more time.
Total disaster for the front row to start this race. Rahal and Herta both with huge issues on their final stop under green flag conditions. It is a tough, tough pill to swallow.
Oh, and you can see Graham in the cockpit, flicked his visor, was just furious. A day that started with so much promise has evaporated.
That'll put Graham back to 7th and maybe 8th here as Maluka shouldn't have trouble getting by unless he has to check up at the exit, which he does.
There's a lot of interest with the young driver from Chicago, David Malukas. Where is he going to be next year? Will it be at Dale Coyne or will it be with one of the larger racing organizations? Under brakes, turn 4. Rahal doesn't really have any say in that as Malukas sweeps around the outside.
So Rahal down to 8th, Herta down to 12th.
Crazy.
Both with excellent race cars and both with issues seemingly outside of their control. That's a tough, tough day at a race like this, when you had the pace, you've had the setup, you see some kind of issue on the left rear for Graham Rahal.
It's almost like he had to go back for another gun. I thought I saw the inside rear tire changer go back to the wall.
And this team knows all too well that that left rear needs to be on before it goes on the racetrack. If you remember back to the Indy 500 a year ago when Graham didn't have his left rear tight and it came off on the racetrack while leading.
Yeah, you saw he had to turn around, either grab a different gun or make some change, some adjustment.
His dad, Bobby. Oh, boy. A day that had promised so much. Still, let's take the positives. Teammate Christian Lundgaard is still running in the top 5 behind Will Power and Scott Dixon. Race leader Alex Palou, he's in, and it's a Honda in front in the hands of Spain's Alex Palou. He's won 3 of the last 4 races. He's in control here to the tune of more than 5 seconds and looking good with a pit stop looming for the second place Pato O'Ward.
I think Pato O'Ward will be a lot of fun to watch, though. I would expect that he goes to the softer red tire, light fuel. He won't need a full fill to make it to the end. He should blend out around Devlin DeFrancesco as you see Pato O'Ward in second. I think he'll come out maybe around Herta Armstrong with fresh tires, light fuel, and a chance to maybe get himself up to the top 7.
25th to a top 10 at Mid-Ohio. That's awesome.
We saw some great passes on track in that first stint, so he's definitely going to be up to the task. It's going to be fun to watch.
All right, here is Mr. Mid-Ohio. Why do we call him that? If you're new to IndyCar, look at the GMR track facts. He is a 6-time winner here at Mid-Ohio. None better at this track than the guy you're watching on screen. Team Penske has the most wins, by the way, 12 over 11 to Chip Ganassi Racing. Those two organizations have dominated the 39 races thus far here and continue to again today with 2 of their cars in the top 3 at the moment.
We saw that stat, 7 of 8 of the last races here. Sorry, I've been one from the front row, but I don't think that's happening today.
And 6 different winners the last 6 years. Time to go through the field. We kick it off with Dylan Welsh.
And Will Power started 7th. He rides in the 4th spot right now. Feel like they have as good of a car this year as they had last year when he charged through the field from effectively last to 3rd. But Ron Rzucki, the strategist, said that's all relative. The field has gotten so much tighter and more competitive this year. We've got to find a way to just be better, and it starts in qualifying. Will felt like their qualifying effort hurt them a little bit, but they're making do, running 4th right now, Kevin.
Right behind him is Christian Lundgaard, who's really effectively 4th, officially in 5th, but Pato O'Ward still has to make one more stop, and this would equal the best finish of the season for Christian Lundgaard, who told me today the momentum for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan is real, and one of the factors is Stefano Sordo, the technical director that came over from the Formula One world. As expected, it's taken a little while for his impact to pay dividends. He's really helping in the aerodynamics, Dylan.
And Scott McLaughlin rides behind him in the 6th spot on track right now. Been a fairly quiet day for them. I think they're kind of in the same boat as their teammate. Felt like they had a good enough race car to maybe go back-to-back here, but starting where they did in the 8th spot, it was going to be tough. Kyle Moyer admitted we need the guys in front of us to have problems. They haven't really had problems yet. He said, if we can finish top 5, I think that's a successful day. They're close to it right now. Behind him, how about a nice day and a nice run for David Malukas on back-to-back weeks. Didn't get the finish that they wanted at Road America, but he said earlier this weekend that their start of their weekend at Road America was maybe their best weekend of the entire year, and as a result, team morale was high coming into this weekend. He had a top 10 here last year, his first in his career, on pace to deliver another one here as he rides in 7th. And Graham Rahal rides 8th, which I think he'll be disappointed with if that's where he ends up finishing. He said, you know, my expectations throughout this entire process have never changed, even though we're faster this weekend than we've been all year. I expected to win every single weekend this year, so this one's going to hurt a little bit. The positives of this, he did say, look, we just want to have a good day here, finish it off, finish solid. They're going to do that with a top 10 finish potentially, Kevin.
Alexander Rossi in 9th. He'll slide up to 8th because Pato O'Ward is going to pit on this lap, and this would be the 6th consecutive top 10 for Alexander Rossi. I suspect he's not going to come away super happy at this point. I think they thought more, considering how good the McLaren cars have been here, but it's still good progress in a new system. There you see O'Ward making that stop. It's the 3rd. They needed a caution to come at the right time to be able to take advantage of that pace that they've had, but to spin in qualifying is why O'Ward is just going to have to be satisfied from moving from his 25th starting position, maybe being able to settle for 11th, somewhere in that range.
Well, he's coming out right behind his teammate Alexander Rossi, but he is on the harder Firestone blacks. I'm a little surprised based on the issue he had in qualifying. I would think he's got sticker reds available.
Yeah, for sure he must. I mean, I don't think he burned through a couple new sets in warm-up. So yeah, a bit of a surprising move with only 16 laps to go. He must have just preferred the balance on this set of tires.
But if he can hang on for a few corners, Diff, he will be ninth in the running order and with a chance to maybe press his teammate Alexander Rossi and go a couple positions better.
Haven't spoken much about the green machine, the Ridgeline Lubricants entry of Marcus Armstrong, leader in the Rookie of the Year battle for 2023. Remember, Marcus is only doing the road and street course races, not doing the ovals. The 11 cars driven by two-time Indy 500 winner Takuma Sato. First time here for Armstrong, and boy, his eyes were wide open earlier this weekend. He said, this is a challenging track, and not sure that we have found the true secret, but as the weekend has progressed, he's got better every time out, Hinch, and now running in the top 10.
It's been an amazingly consistent season from him. 11th in St. Pete, 8th, 11th, 15th, 8th. Had a bit of an issue in Road America. First lap he didn't complete of the season was, I think, the last lap at Road America he went off the racetrack, but it's been a very consistent run from the rookie.
No mistakes, no big moments, nothing to be ashamed of at all. It's been solid all the way through. It reminds me a lot of Santino Ferrucci's rookie year when he was able to run mistake-free all the way until the last race at Laguna Seca. So settling in really well is Marcus Armstrong, and rumored to potentially be running the full season with Chip Ganassi Racing in 24.
And it's going to be a tough battle for Rookie of the Year. There's still 3 oval races left on the calendar, the doubleheader at Iowa, and then the final one at Gateway. He won't be competing in those. Augustine Canapino will, Benjamin Peterson, Stingray Robb, they will. He's got a 20-point lead in the Rookie of the Year battle right now over Augustine Canapino, but it's going to be tough. He's got to build up a big buffer to survive 3 races.
That's what underscores. Obviously, he's in a big budget team at Chip Ganassi Racing, but that's what underscores how well Marcus Armstrong has done this year. Not doing every race, but still has a commanding lead in the Rookie of the Year standings. 14 laps to go here. Things are getting tight, but they're not that tight at the front at all for Alex Palou. He's got an 11.5-second lead, and he is tucked in behind Connor Daly, who is obviously the last car on the lead lap for Meyer Shank Racing. And this is the reason Connor Daly is in Simon Pagenaud's car. If you didn't see it, this happened earlier this weekend. Yesterday morning, a wild, scary ride for the Frenchman. Watch this.
Looks like you're looking out of the front of a tumble dryer, Diff, as you have brake failure going in, fastest part of the racetrack. Amazing credit has to go to everyone that's developed that Indy car to have it as safe as it is. He walked away from that accident.
And you know what a great job from Connor Daly to find out only this morning that he was racing today. He was able to do the warm-up as Alex Palou looks to make a move. But just think about where Connor Daly is running right now relative to his teammate. 4-time Indy 500 winner Elio Castroneves, one of the most experienced drivers in this field. He's raced at Mid-Ohio 16 times. He has 2 wins here. Connor Daly is right there with Castroneves on a race that has gone essentially green since lap 5. That's a solid day. That's all you could ask for from a guy stepping in with just hours of preparation.
How about the day for the defending race winner, Scott McLaughlin? He now runs in the top 5, but he's some 23 seconds adrift of race leader. Here's Pato O'Ward on his teammate. Wow. He said this may have happened when those tyres got up to temp. He goes by Alexander Rossi, so they have put O'Ward from 25th up to 8th place with just 12 laps to go.
Absolute drive of the day. Pato O'Ward making the 3-stop strategy work. Now he's got to get by Peterson and Ferrucci, and then he might have a shot to close the gap on the next driver up the road, Graham Rahal. Full 7 seconds.
We're trying to get help from Chevy.
I bet Alexander Rossi is on a growing list of drivers very frustrated with Benjamin Peterson. He's already a lap down to the leader. If a yellow comes up now, he's got nothing to gain, but he is driving like it's for his life, defending against lead lap cars. That is just not something you need to be doing at this stage of the race.
Brian Barnhart came on the radio, strategist for Alexander Rossi, saying we're trying to get help from Chevy. That's like kind of going to mom and saying, hey, can you please tell my brother to get along?
They don't. You know what to do, man.
Here we go, back straight, he'll have a shot here. How much push to pass has he got left? Of the 200 seconds, Ward's got 20 left. This
Peterson is not cooperating for whatever reason, but just do what you can do, make a pass.
He got by him. Big screen was on Rossi. Small screen down the bottom was live on Peterson, so he's cleared him.
Ward got by with a message. Here's the move Ward made on Rossi.
Peterson out of push to pass now. That's how Ward was able to clear him so easily, but a great move. Textbook from Pato Ward getting around his teammate. But yeah, that one's going to sting. There's going to be some interesting conversations, I think.
It just doesn't make any sense, because even if a yellow came out for Peterson, he's going to get pushed to the back by IndyCar rules so that the lead car guys go to the front. So I just don't get it.
And now it's Colton Herta, your pole sitter, who's lining up Alexander Rossi to try to crack back into the top 10 after the issues that he's had. But it's this man, Alex Palou, 8.5 seconds in front.
That's not his biggest win margin this year. He won at the Indy Road Course by nearly 17 seconds. What a season for Palou. Out grilling, hanging out with family and friends, and that's what it's about here on an annual basis here at Mid-Ohio. Happy 4th to you all, wherever you're watching and celebrating for this holiday weekend. And if you're watching from abroad, not here in North America, you might like to celebrate it as well, however you'd like. Meanwhile, it could be celebration time and fried chicken time again for Alex Palou if he wins another one. He's going for 3 in a row in just 8 laps time, and 4 victories in the last 5 races. Quite extraordinary from Alex Palou. There's Joseph Newgarden, the Indy 500 winner. Newgarden's down in 13th place, just ahead of Romain Grosjean.
And this could get dramatic as drivers get more and more frustrated trying to get past Benjamin Peterson. That's leading to this stack up here, allowing Grosjean to really start to plan his move potentially on Joseph Newgarden and Devlin DeFrancesco. As you see the Firestone telemetry, let's see what kind of top speed Grosjean can click off in that DHL Honda. Right at about 182, 183 miles an hour as they break for turn 4.
There is no way, if I ask the two of you on the pre-grid in our pre-race show, Colton Herta and Graham Rahal, will they likely finish 7th and 11th? You would both would have looked at me and said, no way.
We would have been very skeptical, but if you said if there's an issue, it's going to be Palou, Dixon, and Power, we probably would have said, yeah, I could see that.
That tracks. That makes sense. It's funny, you know, where this lineup of cars, it can be so frustrating. You're stuck in this train. It's at the, again, started by Benjamin Peterson at the front here, a lap down. Alexander Rossi still unable to get by Romain Grosjean, sometimes known for being a bit loquacious on the radio. He doesn't seem to be too vocal about the issues that they're having. But
I mean, if I'm Peterson, I'm going to finish this race, come to pit lane, and just keep driving to Bellefontaine or somewhere out west and get away from the rest of these drivers, because there's going to be a lot of guys wanting to have a conversation.
A lineup outside the 55 truck after this one.
He's been driving hard, but not being all that courteous. 6 laps to go here at Mid-Ohio. Alex Palou 9 seconds ahead of his teammate. What a day for Devlin DeFrancesco in that EvTech Honda. He was furious after Road America. He thought that there should have been a better result there delivered to him. And tempers ran high at the conclusion of that race. And he has responded. And I'm going to give him credit. He told me earlier this weekend, he said, you watch, we're going to bring in a good result this weekend. He's knocking on the door of a top 10. He's behind his teammate who started on the pole position, and he's leading the Indy 500 winner.
I'm watching, though, Diff, the onboard here of Joseph Newgarden, the PPG camera, but behind Newgarden, that yellow DHL car of Grosjean looks increasingly impatient with just 6 laps to go. Is he going to be able to use some restraint here, or how aggressive is he going to be?
6 laps to go and twice as much push to pass remaining for Romain Grosjean. He's at 30 seconds. Joseph Newgarden down at 13. Devlin down to 7 now. So it's getting close. Everyone's starting to run out.
Oh!
Into a handful of laps here.
Grosjean
to
had
your
an opening.
point. I think he's keen, Townsend. He's keen to try to make a move, get that final position.
Here we go.
Finally, Rossi by. Looks like Peterson finally decided to let Alexander Rossi go by. Will he extend the same courtesy to Felix Rosenqvist?
Well, Rosenqvist is a lap down, and so that's for position with Benjamin Peterson. So,
you know what, in Benjamin's defense then, that's actually, I forgot about that. That's a good point. Maybe that's part of why he didn't want to let Rossi by, is now he's exposed to an actual fight for position. So
for 25th.
Again, true. Felix Rosenqvist day. came undone on the opening lap when countryman Marcus Ericsson collided with him, and that put him a lap down. Ericsson's day was done. He's out of this race, the only retirement in this race actually, as Rosenqvist continues to fight. Look in the background, that continues between the yellow DHL machine and the PPG Chevy of Joseph Newgarden. Now remember, we came away from Road America with Will Power saying that Grosjean may have needed a smack in the head. He wasn't too happy. Does Grosjean upset his Team Penske teammate? Roman's trying. He's looking for an avenue through.
And when you drive a yellow car, Joseph Newgarden sees yellow in his mirrors much more vividly than a more muted color, as Grosjean's on push to pass and the marbles are flying.
I think he was on the radio actually, Townsend.
Well, that is push to pass for Grosjean. It's get on the radio and ask your team to do something.
All those drivers hold steady on those push to pass. Those three we talked about: Devlin DiFrancesco, Joseph Newgarden, Romain Grosjean. This is the battle right here for 12th, 13th, and 14th, running on board with Auto Nation here. And Grosjean through turn 9. Big wiggle from Dev up front there. Only 4 laps to go. Joseph Newgarden looking now on the inside of 11. This is not a place you pass.
Slight little kiss there.
Oh, this is a tough move to make on the outside of the final. That's 150 miles an hour with wheel banging going on for Rinus VeeKay. Now Kyle Kirkwood's ready to party.
Trying to pick up the pieces from this little squabble here into turn 1. Contact there. Elbows out with a handful of laps to go.
They're not afraid to mix it up here at the end of this one. Let Callum Eilert join in the fun.
Newgarden looked at his mirror.
Just ran me off the road, extra 2.
Kyle Kirkwood.
Here comes Eilert. Hook goes Hollinger Chevy. Kirkwood defends. One side to the other. The British driver looks for the inside line up the hill. Can't get it done. Now he will switch lines. It's tough to make a pass through here.
I think Newgarden passed DiFrancesco more out of the fact that he was looking in his mirror thinking, Grosjean's going to lose his patience here. I'm going forward.
Dev had a big moment coming out of turn 9, just like that actually.
Yeah.
That's what sort of opened the door. But then side by side through 11 here, that would have put Dev on the dirty side. Lots of dirt on his tires as he goes side by side with Grosjean.
There's one touch with Grosjean, just a brush.
There's more to come.
Here comes the second one.
You see, Newgarden got it totally wrong coming out of 13.
Look at VeeKay, how brave. 3 wide on the outside into turn 1.
Couldn't quite pull it off, and then Kirkwood trying to just pick up the pieces here.
If we stay with this, well, Kirkwood was complaining he got pushed off in turn 2.
It's a huge oversteer moment from Newgarden. So Dev's trying to stay out of Newgarden, crowding Grosjean on the inside, and then hip checks VeeKay into 1. Man, that was manic. As look at the live pictures, Grosjean trying on the outside of Devlin DiFrancesco into turn 4. He's got it done.
By the way, we're not talking about scrapping over a podium spot. This is back in 13th, 14th, 15th, etc. IndyCar drivers fight hard, and 2 laps to go here at Mid-Ohio. 3rd place, Will Power. 4th place, Christian Lundgaard. That would be a season best equaling finish if he can hold off this man here in the 33s. Scott McLaughlin, the defending race winner. He won't defend that win. It's too tough. There's too big a gap. He's 20 seconds behind Alex Palou.
McLaughlin has 10 seconds more push to pass with a lap and a half to go over Christian Lundgaard, so he can start to use that button liberally and see if he can make something happen.
Thinking back to the head of this field again, I've been watching the gap between Palou and Dixon start to fall down. I was impressed with how much he had broken out from Scott Dixon, a 6-time winner here, and then I thought, oh, it's because he's caught some traffic. Who has he caught? He has caught Connor Daly, who is nose to tail with Ryan Hunter-Reay in the car that he was driving only 2 races ago.
He would definitely like to get ahead of that 20. You saw the white flag. There's just 2.25 miles to go for Alex Palou. Meanwhile, outside the top 10, the gloves are still off. There has been some hard racing. Rinus VeeKay.
This might be enough for VeeKay if he doesn't get pushed wide, but no, he does. DiFrancesco, pretty clever, taking away the option for Rinus VeeKay. Meanwhile, Kirkwood ready to pounce.
Don't forget, Callum Eilert right behind Kirkwood goes by now into 9. Brave move there. Kirkwood had some sort of issue, I think.
So Alex Palou is guiding the American Legion Honda home. It's going to give Chip Ganassi Racing its 12th victory here at Mid-Ohio. That ties Team Penske for the most of any racing organization here. It gives Alex his 4th win on the season. More importantly, 3 in a row. Hello, Palou. Alex does it again. Extends his championship lead and wins here at Mid-Ohio.
3 in a row. Let's go. Thank you, boys.
Unstoppable in 2023. The American Legion slogan is "Be the One." Alex Palou is the one. Celebration time for Alex Palou. First win of the season came at the Indy Road Course. The next one on those streets of Detroit at the revised and the new circuit. And then 2 weeks ago at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin at Road America. Now Mid-Ohio.
Last driver to do 3 in a row is his teammate Scott Dixon to kick off the 2020 season. But that is a rare feat in the IndyCar Series. As competitive as it is, he's only had 1 race finish outside of the top 5 so far this season. Absolutely incredible run.
And you've got to go back almost 20 years. Sebastian Bourdais winning 4 from 5. Here he is, Alex Palou, winner at Mid-Ohio.
American Legion's Be the One program. Alex Palou is definitely the one. 3 straight, first since Dixon in 20. You mentioned the Pagano run in 16, 4 of the last 5, and the championship lead is over 100 now. Going back to his win at Laguna Seca last year, that's 10 straight in the top 8 or better for Alex Palou, who wants to greet the entire Chip Ganassi Racing Honda program.
Oh my God.
Celebrating with Julian Robertson, his engineer. Barry Wanzer is down here, the entire crew. He took over the lead after the first pit stop, and no one was able to challenge him the rest of the